Welcome back. In this lesson, I'll show you how to install Bootstrap into your own applications, and then once we've done that, I'll show you some of the important basics of using Bootstrap. So I'm on getbootstrap.com, just on the home page, and there's a link here, download Bootstrap. And it's not actually a direct download link, because we have two main choices for how to use Bootstrap. We can either download the files, and I'll do that to start, and then we can take those files and add them into our application. Before I go any further, I do have a simple HTML file that I'm calling basics.html, and I'll just add a title, and we'll just add in a few different elements of Bootstrap once we have it installed. So we won't make anything comprehensive, we'll just use it as a playground for some of the basic Bootstrap components. Okay, so let's start by adding just a simple h1, Bootstrap basics, and save. And then let's open this up in the browser. Just keep that there for now. Now to install Bootstrap, I did download it. So if I open up that file, you can see inside of here there's a few different components. There's a CSS directory, and inside the CSS directory there are quite a few files, but there's really only one important file, which is bootstrap.css. And this is actually the same file here, bootstrap.min.css, except it's been minified, it's been shrunken down to take up less space. So these two are the important files to actually use Bootstrap. Then this is a Bootstrap theme. All three of these are used to help add a custom theme to Bootstrap, so that doesn't matter as much. All we need is bootstrap.css. And I'm going to start by just opening it up so you can see what we're working with. This is the main Bootstrap CSS file. It's just a lot of classes. If you look at every single line of CSS almost is a class declaration, dot something. And then what we can do is use those classes inside of our applications. So if we want to have a button with white text and a red background, we're going to apply dot button danger. And that's what this is doing here. Dot button danger has white text, a red background, and a reddish border. So let's go ahead and include this in our application, just like any other CSS file. So what I'll do is just drag it over here into the same directory where I have my basics.html. And I could also do bootstrap.min.css in place of this one. It doesn't really matter. Technically this one loads a little faster because if I open it up, you can see it's this one giant line. All the white space has been removed, so it's easier to load. But I'm going to use this longer version just so that you can see exactly what we're working with. So now we're going to go into our actual file here. I'll close this down. And we're going to include bootstrap.css. So just like any other style sheet, we need a link tag, and the href is bootstrap.css. And if we save and we refresh our page here, you'll notice a slight difference. Watch the font on this h1. It changes. We now have Bootstrap installed, or at least the CSS that goes along with Bootstrap, and that's all we'll need for now. We won't be working with the JavaScript just yet. There is another option for installing Bootstrap that they actually give to you on the Get Bootstrap website, right here, Bootstrap CDN. We can take this link right here and add that to our code, and it's a link to a hosted version of that same file. So if we open that in the browser and paste that in, you can see it has the contents of the minified file, and it's hosted at this URL, so we can just have a link to that URL. So I can replace that with another link tag and paste that URL in, and I'll comment this one out for now and go back and refresh, and nothing changes. The only difference is that in the first case we had the file downloaded on our computer that we're linking to, and in the second case we're linking to an external file that's hosted online. Now let's go to the Bootstrap docs and start playing around with some of these components. So go back to Get Bootstrap, and let's click on CSS. And I'm just going to point out some of the more important pieces that we'll be using. So let's start simple with buttons. If we want to use a button, all that we have to do is use a btn class followed by a type of button. There's btn default, which will give us a white button. But there's also btn primary, btn success, info, warning, danger, and link, and they all are styled slightly differently. And of course we can change these colors on our own, but we're going to just use the built-in ones to start. And as you can also see up here, we don't have to only use a button element. We can use an anchor tag, a button, or an input. So let's try that out. Below this H1, let's just add in a button tag. And this button tag should just say, click me. And if we just refresh the page right now and take a look at that, it's a pretty ugly button. But if we go and add that class, btn, and then btn, let's do success and save, we now get this awesome green button. So pretty easy to get some basic styles going. And let's go back and I'll show you a few other things about buttons. There are different sizes that we can use as well. And it's really easy. We just need to add in either button large, button small, or button extra small. So let's try it out. After button success, and it doesn't have to go after, it doesn't matter the order of the classes, but I'll do it after here, btn, and let's do extra small. And refresh our page. There we go. And I'll move this over now, and let's add in a few more buttons, but this one will be an anchor tag. And this will be an A tag where we have href equals http://www.getbootstrap.com, and then the text will just say Bootstrap docs. Let's make this a little bit bigger. And then we'll add in class. And class needs to equal btn. And let's do btn-info. And we'll make it large, btn-lg. And refresh. We now have two buttons. One is an actual button element. Another one is an anchor tag. And if I click this, you can see it is an anchor tag. So already in the first minute of using Bootstrap, we've been able to get decent looking buttons that would have taken 10 to 15 lines of CSS on our own to replicate. Let's go back now, make this full screen again, and I'll show you a few other things about buttons. So we have sizes. We also have different states where we can make a button appear as if it's active. And to do that, we just add the active class. So if we try that now, let's add in a few buttons. So I'm going to duplicate our little miniature click me button 3 times. And on the last one, or on the middle one, I'll add the class active. And refresh. And you can see, hopefully that shows up well enough on the screencast, that this one appears active. Let's go back. And we can also disable a button by adding in this attribute, disabled equals disabled. Let's go back and let's disable the last one. Refresh. And now this button is disabled. We get that nice little icon. It doesn't have a hover effect where it changes color anymore. It's clearly a disabled button. Great. Last thing I'll show you is that we can change the colors again. So button danger, and that gives us that reddish orange. And you can see all the colors here. And of course, you could change those by overriding the styles. So you could do something like this. Rather than making another style sheet, I'll just do it here for now. So we're just going to do one line, and we'll select .btn danger. We can change the color to be orange. And now my btn danger, the text is orange. And if I wanted to actually change the background, I could do background is orange. And that's how you can go in and override the styles. So you don't have to use what Bootstrap gives you out of the box. And most places don't. Okay, so that's buttons, and that's all I'm going to do in this video. I just wanted to give you a really quick taste of how Bootstrap works. This pattern of adding classes to existing elements, and those classes are defined in that bootstrap.css file. In the next video, I'm going to highlight some of the other important pieces that come with Bootstrap, including forms and inputs.